Daily Detroit is brought to you by the community. Support our work at patreon.com/dailydetroit.
From the Paris of the Midwest, this is your Daily Detroit, recorded on Wednesday, October 23rd, 2019. I'm Jer Stays, and we have a lot to go through, so let's get started. There's big news out of Wayne State University with the unveiling of the Heart of Detroit tuition pledge. It means that Wayne State will provide free tuition to any City of Detroit high school graduate. Currently, there are nearly 50,000 school-aged children who live in the city. The pledge is a gap program designed, as the name implies, to fill the financial gap in between any scholarships and grants students have. The program applies to any graduate of a public, charter, private, or homeschool Detroit resident, regardless of where they went to high school, starting in the fall 2020 semester. So why does the regardless of where they went to high school part matter? Well, more than half of Detroit students go not to school in the city itself, but in the suburbs. Most go to suburban districts through school of choice programs. The key for qualification will be that a student has a Detroit mailing address. This builds on previous programs like the Detroit Promise, a program of the Detroit Regional Chamber that funds some of Detroit kids' college education. Wayne State's annual tuition for in-state students is about $11,700 a year. So I'm going to stop here for a second and add some context, as it's kind of important here. Wayne State has come under fire in recent years for not including more Black Detroit residents in their admissions. This program would surely help that. However, on the plus side, Wayne State is one of few universities in Michigan that has been bucking the statewide trend of declining enrollment by holding steady. After all, Michigan as a whole is getting older and fewer people are being born here. And as the kids that are born here get older, they're often choosing out-of-state universities. Although this is a major program for Detroit and could be a big win, I wouldn't be surprised to see more of these types of things, as we're on a path in Michigan to have a worker shortage, as younger workers are not replacing older ones. Sticking around the Wayne State campus for another quick one, the world's largest periodic table happened Wednesday. Working on the giant table were student chemistry clubs from the University of Michigan Dearborn and Flint, University of Detroit Mercy, Lawrence Tech, and Wayne State. It was spread out for a few hours across the equivalent of 3 football fields near Trumbull and Warren. The event happened on what's called Mole Day, which commemorates Avogadro's number, a basic measuring unit in chemistry. Now that they're done, the tarps will be donated for disaster relief. Elevated lead levels have been found in another Metro Detroit community, this time Dearborn Heights. City officials say that lead at what they say exceed the action level was found at 5 of 30 testing sites in the suburb bordering Detroit to the west. At this level, it means that there will be more sampling of water quality and educational outreach to customers, as well as investigations into the root cause. The Wayne County Health Division will be providing free water filters to disadvantaged homes, and 60 samples will be taken over the next 6 months and monitored. This adds to recent lead concerns in the region in White Lake Township and Birmingham. The Detroit Historical Museum is going to begin charging admission again to balance their books. It'll cost $10 for adults, $6 for kids ages 6 to 17, and $8 for seniors, students, active duty military, and first responders. Membership options are also available, starting at $45. Last fiscal year, the museum in Detroit's Midtown was nearly $300,000 in the red. One thing I'm excited about is the addition of evening hours. They're going to add some on Thursday evenings. That's great, and I'm going to use it, but I kind of wish they did them on Fridays as well, in concert with the Detroit Institute of Arts, which has a fabulous Friday night program. Then you could have a couple great places to go between a date on Friday night, huh? Here's a story about saving a language. Farmington Hills-based Mango Languages, they do language learning courses available at libraries and such, is starting to work on a course preserving the spoken language of the Potawatomi. They're one of the peoples of the Council of Three Fires. They're working with the Pokégon Band of Native Americans to do this. The Pokégon are in today's Michigan and Indiana. The language is labeled critically endangered by UNESCO, with less than a dozen native speakers left. The program will include recordings of narratives and dialogues of everyday use of the Potawatomi language and culture. This will be the second Native American language course covered by Mango Languages. The first was Cherokee. Today is Orchestra Hall's 100th birthday. The structure on Woodward, just north of Mac, was built in 1919 and has a history that might surprise you. For a lot of its life, Orchestra Hall didn't actually hold the orchestra. The DSO played there from 1919 through 1939, then moved to the Masonic Temple as they couldn't afford to maintain the building. Sure, the DSO played and recorded there from time to time, but through a series of owners, the building fell into greater and greater disrepair. Detroit historically has had difficulty funding the arts. The DSO for many years was near financial ruin. Often, the Detroit region relies on a few key philanthropists. It's one of the big reasons why the millage for the DIA was such a big deal a bit ago. But I digress. In 1959, the DSO moved from the Masonic into the now demolished Ford Auditorium that was built on the riverfront. But the acoustics there were generally regarded as terrible. When the DSO recorded albums, they do it in the superior sounding, if not crumbling, Orchestra Hall. Water was coming in, whole sections were cordoned off, and it would take days to prepare the space for people to come in. Soon, the hall was on the road to be demolished to become a restaurant. But over a couple decades, and with crafty fundraising, enough money was raised and the DSO came home to Orchestra Hall in 1989. Since then, the Orchestra Hall complex, including the Max M. Fisher Music Center for the Performing Arts, has been expanded, and it's now a cultural anchor of Detroit's downtown resurgence. And the DSO, as of their last report, had balanced books and the beginnings of a proper endowment. If you ever get the chance to go down, and there are usually affordable tickets available, it sounds just as good in the cheap seats, so go do it. It's a real treat. I, for one, am just glad that we can enjoy C. Howard Crane's creation to this day, and I'll include some links to various stories about the building in the show notes. And we're done for today. Thanks so much for listening, and to our members for supporting Your Daily Detroit. Become one of those cool people at dailydetroit.com/join. With that, I'm Jer Stays. Take care of each other, and I'll see you around Detroit.